Howdy. Let's start off with this picture here. It's the surface conductivity anomaly in Scandinavia. I've been I think yesterday talking about this. Here we have the Kursk magnetic anomaly. And it still goes further down. Maybe I could zoom out and we could take a look at it. And this goes down here to the Krim Islands. And I think maybe even down to this water body. So it is in a way grounded in these two water bodies. This connects all here. And probably this is just continuing, you know. But we have to deal with what we have. I have marked here east and northwest. Because in a way it is aligned in these directions as well. Of course we have also this direction and we have this direction. But we have north, west and eastern. And that's from the Kalevala. Oxford World's Classic, the Kalevala. That's from the book itself. The world sallow to topple, sat at the third time. He could fell the oak and shatter the world sallow, and bring down the 100-leaved. Which is the tree? The oak, the 100-leaved. The base he thrust to the east, and the top he lowered northwest. The foliage to get the great south. The boughs halfway northward. Yeah. Maybe those people have seen when the polar cusps touched the ground. The 100-leaved, which is said to be felled here in this part of the story, is this. Well, that's the lower point or the base of the Birkeland Current. Artists' depiction of Birkeland currents flowing into and out of the Earth's atmosphere at high latitude. These currents, once the subject of intense debate, are routinely measured by today's satellites and have total magnitudes of millions of amperes, mega-amperes. Depiction of an intense auroral funnel. The figure shows both downflowing and upflowing Birkeland currents contained with two concentric sheets. Oblique upward view, right side view, barely discernible at the lower center are the sea pinch instabilities. And basically, this upper part is the polar cusp. And here you have the sea pinch instability visible, an imprint in Earth's crust. And I have found this because I followed the weather. One reason was that I learned that Earth's magnetic field is weakening, so then I just made the conclusion. So if it's so, then imprints in Earth's crust might have more and more influence on local weather or weather patterns in general, because they might really make the connection to the heavens. And then it turned out how else it could be. Like, you know, many meteorologists have been complaining about that. Back in the days, weather systems just passed by, whatever high or low pressure, they just came and went by. Nowadays, they seem to be stuck in place much more often. And now we had this very wild weather in Central Europe. And here we have the Skagerrak and Skagerrak. One of these is the Skagerrak, one of these is the Skagerrak. It's either this is Skagerrak and this is Skagerrak, or the other way around. We could really check it out, but I don't think it's really important for that. But anyway, in order for you to understand, this is a rather narrow and curvy connection to the bigger waters out here, because here we have this very small Baltic Sea area. And there's stuff going on there. I have found many very interesting things as I watch this bathymetric map, which is shut down since a while for whatever reasons. Yeah, I doubt that it's my fault. Why not? It could be possible. But anyway, we don't have the map anymore, so I can't show you the things I found. But there is at least two things I want to show you, because they are interesting. Because if this has been once a North or South Pole, there might be very interesting things down below no one knows about. Some kind of volcanic activity which doesn't necessarily need to be warm. I mean, rather mud volcanoes and stuff like that, related to clay. Clay is very interesting. It turned out that most of the lavas which are coming out of Iceland's volcanoes are, in a way, the same stuff which poured out of the stones I put in the microwave. Yeah, and I have very good proof for that stuff being what it is. It's not too accurate, but I have data about that. But anyway, why I'm talking about this? First, we can start off on life science. Strange methane leak discovered at the deepest point of the Baltic Sea baffling scientists. A huge methane leak discovered in the Baltic Sea spans 7.7 square miles, with masses of gas bubbles rising almost all the way to the ocean surface. I don't know if that's an ocean. It's the Baltic Sea after all. Anyway, a huge methane leak has been found coming from the deepest seabed of the Baltic Sea. So here it's a sea, on the other side it's an ocean. Anyway, a vast methane leak has been discovered at the deepest point in the Baltic Sea, and masses of bubbles of the greenhouse gas are rising far higher into the water column than the scientists had expected. Researchers found that the enormous leak, 1,300 feet, 4 meters beneath the water surface, during an expedition to the land-sort deep, the Baltic's deepest spot, in August. The area leaking methane is roughly 7.7 square miles, 20 square kilometers, equivalent to 4,000 soccer fields. Yeah. It's bubbling everywhere, basically, in these 20 square kilometers. Marcello Ketzer, professor of environmental sciences at Linnaeus University in Sweden and project leader, told Life Science. In shallower coastal seabeds, methane bubbles up from decaying organic matter, while in deeper water it tends to disperse via diffusion. Yeah, decaying organic matter. Maybe they could show some samples of that organic matter. Maybe it's peat. Anyway. Meaning no bubbles are needed. And most of the diffuse methane remains in the deepest water. But new leak doesn't follow this pattern. By discovering this leak, we realized that there is totally different mechanisms applying methane to the bottom of the Baltic. A different mechanism. The team was also stunned to observe how far the methane bubbles rose in the water column toward the sea surface. Methane usually dissolves in water, so as bubbles rise, they decrease in size until there is nothing left. Ketzer, the maximum height they would expect methane bubbles to reach was around 160 feet, 50 meters from the ocean floor. Yet, the land so deep, the team observed methane bubbles reaching 380 meters into the water column, just 65 feet, 20 meters from the surface. So that's completely new. Gasbublor. Solar image showing the methane bubbles rising from the east through the solar in the Baltic. Yeah. Maybe they are getting pulled upwards He believes this is due, at least in part, to a weaker than average microbial filter, a layer of bacteria that live in sediments and eat up to 90% of the methane produced by decaying water. This filter can be several feet thick in the ocean, but in the Baltic Sea it's a few centimeters thick. Human activity is also altering the way this filter operates, according to Kretzer. Fertilizers from land that reach the sea boost algae blooms. When the algae die, they add organic matter to the sediments. Okay, maybe that's where they think the organic matter is coming from. Dead algae. The methane-eating bacteria also like to munch on this material, enabling more methane to escape toward the surface. Furthermore, the researchers think the land's deep leak may be caused by a large amounts of sediment deposited there by bottom currents. How much we are responsible for weakening this filter and allowing more methane to pass is something that we don't know. But it's something we would like to investigate, said Kretzer. In addition, water at the bottom of the Baltic contains high level of methane, so the bubbles may have to travel higher in the water column to dissolve. Although this doesn't fully explain how they are getting so close to the surface. Kretzer's team is preparing a second expedition to the Lancer Deep to find out if any bubbles make it to the surface and release methane into the atmosphere. Methane leaks like this are potentially important sources of greenhouse gas that scientists need to account for. Yeah. It would be interesting to see if explore other parts. Is that this leakage? No. Maybe it was. I don't know. This looked to me like a volcano. Maybe they should check out some other stuff there at the bottom of the Baltic Sea. So this was from, I guess, October. Yes, October 11th. So now to something possibly related. And considering the surface conductivity anomaly and stuff like that, we know that salt probably increases the conductivity. That's from Leibniz Institute für Ostseeforschung, Warnemünde. Strong saltwater inflow into the Baltic Sea detected 23rd December, that's a few days old. Leibniz Institute, Warnemünde. A large influx of salt water into the southwestern Baltic Sea is currently being detected. The autonomous measuring station operated by the Leibniz Institute for Baltic Sea Research, Warnemünde, at the Darßil has been measuring a strong inflow of salty water throughout the water column since 20th of December 2023. Which is a comparatively rare occurrence. Yeah, last time I talked about the Baltic Sea, there has been this radar, no GPS disturbance stuff. Now we have salt. Over Christmas Day, it will become clear whether the inflow is similar in scale to the major saltwater intrusion in 2014. Yeah, maybe you have to check out something about the year 2014, but I haven't read this yet, so let's just go on. Saltwater inflows are accompanied by oxygen-rich water that could aerate oxygen-poor, deeper basins in the Baltic Sea, which in turn prevents the formation of toxic hydrogen sulfide. Maybe the algae died because of that. They felt it coming. Almost 9 years to the day after the last major saltwater intrusion in December 2014, also December. That's interesting. Large quantities of salt water are currently flowing over the Darßil into the eastern Baltic Sea again. Since 20th of December, salty water has been flowing over the Darsil, not only at the bottom, but also in the entire water column. This is a good indicator of a major saltwater intrusion, says Dr. Volker Moorholz, oceanographer at the Leibniz Institute for Baltic Sea Research in Warnemünde. This is the case when significantly increased salt content in the water is measured at the Darsil. How many times we hear this Darsil again? Over a period of 5 days. On Christmas Day, it will therefore become clear whether this is the first major saltwater inflow since 2014, a so-called major Baltic inflow. Back then, the third largest saltwater intrusion occurred since oceanographic measurements began in 1912. The saltwater intrusion was probably triggered by the wind conditions of recent weeks. Persistent winds in the first half of December from a southeasterly direction led to a lowering of the Baltic Sea level and the outflow of water masses towards the North Sea. Following the onset of strong westerly winds in connection with Storm Zoltan, large quantities of salty water are currently flowing into the Baltic Sea in the opposite direction. Saltwater inflows are associated with the inflow of well-oxygenated North Sea water into the Baltic Sea. This allows oxygen-poor deeper basin areas such as the Gotland Basin to be aerated with oxygen, which in turn prevents the formation of toxic hydrogen sulfide. However, we know from measurements of the IOW, long-term observation program for the Baltic Sea, that the effect does not last too long. Yeah, how long is that? It's not too long, so let's just go on. Our autonomous measuring station deployed in the southwestern Baltic Sea on behalf of the Federal Maritime and Hydrographic Agency are reporting real-time data providers without which such short-term events and long-term changes in the water masses could not be documented with this temporal resolution, says Professor Dr. Oliver Zielinski, director of the Leibniz Institute for Baltic Sea Research. Yeah, that's very cool that they are measuring this stuff. Someone is constructing these instruments and maintaining them. It's very cool. Thank you for this. These data series are a basic prerequisite for science-based overview studies on the state of the Baltic Sea, which are developed by IOW scientists in collaboration with other national and international research institutions. So now, if you just think about that, we had this weather, which they are talking about, which has been persisting for some time. And yet we are still talking about the coldest and the darkest time of the year, where the sun doesn't really have a big influence, because the angle of the sun. Well, but anyway, we had very strong storms and all this kind of stuff. And probably as a proof that how strong they have been until now, we have now this saltwater inflow. And if we remember that the weather above is a reflection of what in a way is going on beneath our feet, there are telluric currents, which are mostly produced by the sun, whatever CME or solar flare or just the solar wind with our weakening magnetosphere. There's more energy going in and it will get stored in certain places, then it gets released in pulses and stuff like that. And then we have auroras over Iceland just appearing for a few minutes, which could be a reflection of what is going on in the mid-Atlantic ridge just high above our heads. And maybe something similar is going on in the Baltic Sea with this GPS disturbance, because maybe it's just a different height. But there might be something going on beneath the ground which is reflecting in the sky, and it just happens to be so that it disturbs the GPS signals. But there is stuff going on in the Baltic Sea, which I find very interesting. Yeah, let me show you just still one other thing. So I just made Google translate this for me. Energy. Commission nuclear fuel disposal in Olkiluoto is unlikely to contaminate other EU countries. Unlikely. The statement concerned the disposal plan for the radioactive waste generated from the spent nuclear fuel encapsulation facility and the underground disposal facility. Listen to the story. Yeah. Finland's nuclear waste disposal site Onkalo in Olkiluoto. Yeah, I have been talking about this. Yeah, this time they don't show any water. According to the European Commission, the nuclear fuel disposal facility to be built in Eurajoki's Olkiluoto are unlikely to cause significant pollution in other EU countries. The Commission issued a statement on the matter on December 14th. The statement specifically concerned the disposal plan for the radioactive waste generated from the spent nuclear fuel encapsulation facility and the underground disposal facility. The Commission asked Finland for information about the plan earlier this year. The Commission considers that the implementation of the plan is unlikely to cause radioactive contamination of water, soil or air significant to health in the territory of another EU member state. The Ministry of Labour and Economy will take the Commission statements into account when preparing the operation permit for the nuclear fuel encapsulation facility and the final disposal facility. The Ministry's Industrial Advisor Juho Kortiniemi told about it on the message service X on Wednesday. Content cannot be displayed. No. So everything is good. Everything is good. Except there is no light at the end of the tunnel. Yeah, don't go there. The everlasting flame, as they call it. Yeah. Have you seen my microwave experiments? Induced energy or electromagnetic radiation in the microwave spectrum into rocks? Yeah, about the storage facility still. They are putting the nuclear waste into copper capsules and stuff like that and bury it in the ground. There's copper and iron around the nuclear waste. The flames shoot up to heaven. Telluric currents, GIC, geomagnetically induced currents. And that's just one of the experiments I made. I will put a link below. You can watch the whole video, but just about the nuclear storage facility. And there's something I really don't want to push too far yet, but there are some interesting features just about the location of where they are, where the nuclear power plants and the nuclear end waste storage facility is. It's a very interesting place. But now let's just have a quick look at this. Doing some alchemy at home. Yeah, this started very quickly after I put it into the microwave. Remember? And the flames shoot up to heaven. Yeah. I was pondering the possibility that something like this is going to happen to those copper iron canisters in which is stored the nuclear waste. But I don't know. I'm not a scientist. Make up your own mind. Thanks.